Nehemiah stood before the broken walls of Jerusalem, his heart heavy. The city of his ancestors lay in ruins, its gates burned, its people vulnerable. He had traveled far from Persia, leaving behind the comfort of the king's palace, because he knew this was his God-given assignment, to rebuild what was lost. But from the very beginning, it wasn't easy. When Nehemiah first heard about Jerusalem's condition, he had wept and prayed for days. He knew the city needed to be restored, but he wasn't a warrior or a ruler. He was just a cupbearer to King Artaxerxes. Yet, instead of complaining, he prayed. And when the time was right, he took a bold step. He asked the king for permission to rebuild the city. And to his surprise, the king not only agreed but also provided him with supplies and protection for the journey. When Nehemiah arrived in Jerusalem, he didn't announce his plans right away. Instead, he walked through the city at night, looking at the broken walls, the burned gates, the scattered stones. He saw the destruction with his own eyes. Then he gathered the people and said, "Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, so we will no longer be in disgrace." The people agreed, and the work began. But not everyone was happy. Sanballat, Tobiah, and other enemies of Israel mocked them. "What are these weak Jews doing?" they sneered. "Will they rebuild this wall in a day? Even if they finish it, a single fox could break it down." Nehemiah heard their words, but he refused to stop. He prayed, and the people kept building. When the enemies realized that mockery wasn't enough, they plotted to attack. So Nehemiah armed the workers. Half of them held swords while the other half built. Some even worked with one hand and held a weapon in the other. They refused to stop, even for a moment. The opposition didn't end. At one point, Sanballat and Tobiah sent messages, pretending to want peace talks, trying to distract Nehemiah from his work. But he saw through their tricks and replied, "I am doing a great work and cannot come down." He knew that stopping for even a moment would put the whole mission at risk. And then, after weeks of hard labor, the impossible happened. The walls of Jerusalem were rebuilt in just 52 days. The city that had been broken for decades was restored, not by powerful warriors or wealthy rulers, but by ordinary people who refused to give up. When the enemies saw what had happened, they were afraid because they knew this was not just human effort. This was God's hand at work. But Nehemiah didn't stop there. He didn't just rebuild walls. He restored the people. He gathered them, read the law of Moses aloud, and led them in prayer and repentance. It wasn't just about protecting the city. It was about returning to God. Nehemiah's story is proof that when God gives an assignment, there will be obstacles, but those who stay focused and trust Him will see victory. The walls of Jerusalem were more than just stone and wood. They were a symbol of what happens when people stand firm in faith and refuse to be discouraged. Nehemiah could have given up when the threats came. He could have been distracted by fear or opposition, but he didn't. He knew that God had given him a mission and he finished it. I hope this story inspired you. To encourage us, please subscribe to our channel and turn on your notifications bell.